Hi, and good evening, everyone. My name is Ronika Jacobs from Strive Leadership Consulting, and I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today on this wonderful day. Here in Texas, it's a little different today because it's April, and we're used to it starting, beginning to warm up, and it hasn't been. So we've had a little shift. And so for those of us who had started packing away our winter clothes. And at this point now, we have had to bring a few of our winter clothes and even jackets back out. But in order to preserve your time, I just want to jump right into things and get started. Just to give you a little background of what Flawsome means, it basically means that we are all awesome in our own unique way. But as we are humans, we also have our own flaws. But the flaws are not necessarily negative things that we may think they are. Actually, it just basically means how unique we are. We are each uniquely and divinely made. And just as we are uniquely and divinely made, there's no one else who is just like you. There's no one else who is just like me. And if you have had a moment to take a look at nature and look at things around you, nothing is exactly perfect. And if you start thinking about what does perfect mean and perfection, there's really nothing that is exactly perfect unless it's a copy of something else original. And so we are all originals. We are not copies. And so therefore we are unique. And so this webinar is about being unique and accepting that and recognizing that things can go wrong. We can make mistakes and things don't have to be perfect, and it's okay. And so we can accept that and also help others to learn to accept that fact as well. And so, like I said, welcome. I'm so glad you are joining us. And so I'm going to just jump right into the slides. And so, as I said, this is Dynamically Flawsome. It's learning to embrace imperfection. And so if you think about the reality of imperfection in our world, there are bumps, there are cracks, there are dents, there are missing pieces all around us. Nothing is perfect. We live in an imperfect world filled with all of these cracks and dents and unintended consequences. And perfection is an unattainable ideal. So if you've ever looked at a flower, all of the petals aren't exactly the same. If you've ever looked at, you see this picture on the screen of a mountain, and you see there are dips in the mountains, there's peaks and there's valleys. Nothing is exactly the same. It's not all streamlined. And each of the peaks are uniquely made and they're all different. If you look at a tree, if you've ever noticed, all of the branches, some are short, some are long, some are broken off, some are thick, some are thin. They're not copies and they're not exactly the same. And so I think that is by design, and that nothing is supposed to be like the original. Each thing is uniquely made on purpose. And that is how we are. We are uniquely made, each one of us, on purpose. And so thinking again about the reality of imperfection is dealing with the reality of imperfection is a healthy way to grow and obtain positive change. And if you think about the mistakes that you have made, I know that I've made plenty of mistakes. And you feel silly at some of the mistakes that you've made. But I would challenge you to, instead of, beating yourself up and starting with the negative self-talk in the mistakes that you have made, I encourage you to take a look at those mistakes and take a look at them and think about what you can learn from those mistakes. Building a consensus by understanding that we are all flawed can help you make a transition and make an adjustment to recognize that there are positives in imperfection. Another way that you can deal with it is becoming more authentic and likable by admitting to mistakes. If you're at work or with your family and you make a mistake, just own up to it. You know what? I'm sorry, my mistake. I didn't mean to do that, or I thought that, this would work, and it turns out that it didn't. Especially if you are a parent, if you are willing to admit your mistakes as a parent to your children, it'll be easier for them to also understand that it's okay to make mistakes. A lot of times we set a bar really high for our children. And we give this unrealistic perspective to our children that we are perfect and that they are supposed to reach this unattainable level of perfection. And they never see us make mistakes. And if we do, we don't want to point them out to us because we want them to hold us to this high standard. But in reality, we are doing them a disservice by not letting them know that, yes, even mommy, even daddy makes mistakes too. And so once we become more authentic and, admitting our mistakes, and the first time it may be difficult, but as you go through life and go through and practice more and more admitting, and feeling comfortable saying, you know what, I messed up. It's my bad. The quicker that you can admit your mistake, the quicker you can preserve the relationship. Because a lot of times that we don't admit our mistakes the first time, then we end up damaging the relationship for the long term. Because if we mess up and then we try to sweep it under the rug or try to hide it, most times the other person or the other people, they know we messed up. And they may point it out to us, but if we deny it or we try to not redeem ourselves or try not to say anything, then that starts to have our trust decline from the other person, and it can damage the relationship over time. And so, as I mentioned before about, accepting imperfection, we want to make sure we're setting an example for others. There are other people who may be spending their lives in a futile chase for perfection, like I said, like our children. And it's just not realistic. It's just not healthy. And we must strengthen our interpersonal relationships with each other. We are a social people. We are a social community and social culture, and we thrive on interactions with others. And so we don't ever want to do anything that will jeopardize the relationships that we have with our friends and our family members and our colleagues at work, because that is how we thrive. We thrive on social interaction. And so if we damage those relationships instead of strengthening them, then we won't have people to count on, and you really can't go at anything in this world alone. Also, finding humor. Of course, I have Homer from The Simpsons in here, and he's always making mistakes. And, he's like, I can't believe I made the mistake. But, sometimes if you just take time out and just laugh at yourself and just, we don't know everything. Life is about trial and error. Some things we know right off the top, and some of the things that are just exploration. We're just going along, and every day is different than the next. We aren't fortune tellers, so we never know what's going to happen. We never know what's coming, and so sometimes we get it right. There are days that we can celebrate and we get it right, and there are days that we totally bomb and mess up. But I just ask, just relax and just know you are not the only person in the world that makes mistakes. And as a matter of fact, the mistake that you make, like I said, learn from them. Get out your journal, write it down, and you never know when you can bless someone else. And so thinking about ways that we can embrace imperfection, because when we are constantly worrying about being perfect and constantly worrying about making mistakes and beating ourselves up, it interrupts or interferes with us being happy. And remember, happiness does not come from others. Happiness starts within ourselves. And so real happiness doesn't lie in attaining perfection. Instead, happiness lies in accepting who you are and embracing your imperfections. Okay, so one of your eyebrows is higher than the other. So what? And what I have here in front of you is a mirror. Of course, you can't see your reflection, but after we get off of this, after we leave from this course, I invite you to take a stop by, the mirror in the bathroom and really look at yourself. Look at your face, look at your eyebrows, look at your ears, look at your eyes, your nose, your mouth, your neck, all these different skin tags or things that you have on your face that make you uniquely you. And if you think about it, yes, we age over time. But what that is just wisdom showing up. It's experience showing up. It's the joy. It's the pain. It's the celebrations. And all of those things count in our lives and have made us who we are. And so your imperfections are an essential part of you. They make you unique. They make you beautiful. They make you strong. There's no one else in this world like you. There's no one else in this world who can do what you do in the way that you do it, because you are uniquely you. And so we think about the masses of people in this world, and as much as we try to imitate them and emulate them because the society tells us that's what we need to do. But we have beauty right in front of us. The beauty that's uniquely us. And so in order to begin to embrace embracing your imperfections, you need to take specific steps. Step number 1, accepting that you are human and that humans make mistakes. We are not robots. We are not programmed we don't have a formula or some type of formula calculated within us to behave in a certain type of way. If you notice, robots are really monotone, and robots kind of pretty much act in the same manner. They behave in the same way, in the same manner. They talk in the same tone. I think they're trying to get better at engineering robots to have a little bit of inflection in their voice or have you, but it's still copied. And the fabulous and fantastic thing about humans is humans are unpredictable, and that's so natural. As much as we try to predict the behavior of others, we always get surprised by someone else, right? Think about you have yourself, find yourself thinking, man, I didn't think they were going to do that. Or, wow, you really surprised me. And sometimes they surprise us in a great way, and sometimes they surprise us in a not so great way. But either way, we just have to recognize that we are human, and we just have to just relax and just understand that we don't have all the answers. The second thing to do is to realize that what you perceive as a weakness actually could be a strength. And of course, my company, we explore our strengths and find our unique top 5 strengths with Strengths Finder. And the Strengths Finder assessment is just so amazing because it's so spot on. And a lot of times when we're finding that what we think is a weakness is actually not a weakness, it actually can be a strength. We just haven't learned how to properly use it. And we haven't learned how to either dial it up or dial it back, because sometimes we have strengths, and depending on what environment you are in, it could be that the strength that you are using to operate in that particular environment may not be appropriate for that environment. And so one of your strengths you may be using too much, and it may be appropriate for you to dial it back. In another instant, there may be a strength that you have that you need to dial up. And maybe that's the problem. You're not doing enough of that particular strength. Because remember, the top 5 strengths that you have are unique to you. And there's no one else in this world that has the same top 5 strengths in you. The likelihood of someone else having the same top 5 is 1 in 33 million, which are some pretty slim odds. So you are uniquely you. And then in order for someone to have the same exact top 5 in the same exact order of dominance is like 1 in 254 gazillion, or so many zeros behind it. It's unreal. It's not even a number. So you are uniquely you. And so embracing who you are, just how you are, is how you learn to embrace imperfection or flaws, and you recognize, you know what, this is me, and I was made this way on purpose. The last step I invite you is learning to laugh at yourself. And I've said that before in a previous slide. I said, learn to laugh at yourself and the mistakes that you've made. We have to relax. And actually, laughter is good for your health. The more you find opportunities to laugh, it actually sends endorphins throughout your brain, and it boosts your mood. And so next time I invite you, if you make a mistake, take a moment. And it may feel silly because anytime we do something new for the first time, it makes us uncomfortable. But just laugh at yourself. It could be a slight, chuckle or, smile to yourself. Or it could be, a wholehearted laugh, whatever works for you. But just laugh about it. Now, I'm not saying you laugh and then you stay there and just, I made a mistake, ha, ha, ha. Now, we do have to, rectify ourselves, and we do have to, make strides towards fixing it or redeeming ourselves. But if you laugh first, instead of being angry at yourself first, it'll make such a change in how you deal with fixing that mistake. Because if the next step after making a mistake is anger in ourselves, we're knocking ourselves down. We are affecting our self-confidence. And when you engage in negative self-talk and you knock yourself down and knock your self-confidence down, when you attempt to make decisions, you shut your brain off. The minute that you tell yourself that you are stupid or that you can't do something right or you're weak or all of those negative things that we tend to do after we make a mistake, or the negative things that we tend to say about ourselves if we find things are not perfect, oh, we didn't do our makeup right, or we didn't, our haircut is not, exactly right the way we wanted it to be. We automatically shut our brain down, and the next steps going forward, we are not our best selves. And so I ask you to, in the future, instead of getting angry at yourself or down on yourself, just laugh. Just laugh at your mistake. And you'll be surprised at how you feel about the mistake. And you'll be surprised at how much your mind is open into making the next steps, into making the decisions that need to come afterwards. And so I want to talk now about beauty. And I know there's some gentlemen on this call, on this webinar at this time. But I want to talk to the ladies for a moment. And I want to talk about beauty and how we define beauty. How we define beauty determines how we view beauty. And of course, you've heard of that saying that beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And so that is very true. So what you see is beautiful. The person next to you may not think that person is so beautiful, or that's why we pick our spouses or the people that we date, or they're beautiful to us. And maybe they may not necessarily be beautiful to someone else. But in our culture, which we commonly, refer to in the world as Western culture, beauty is often defined as an absolute, as an ideal. There's so many beauty ads. You could look like this, and there's constant, ads for losing weight so that you can be slim and trim, and because that's what you have to do, because you have to look like this, and you have to get implants, and you have to, have this measurement in your bust, and you have to have this measurement in your waist, and you have to have this measurement of height. You have to have this particular number in the range of weight. Now, some things, yes, for health reasons, that is true. And so we have to remember that we do have to make sure we are not abusing our bodies, and that is important. But if we know that you are living a healthy life, and so whatever your weight is, and whatever your height is, and whatever the outlines of your skin and the lines of your face and whatever it may be, that is uniquely you. And so you don't have to be ashamed of that. You don't have to apologize for that. And in our Western society, in our culture, very often beauty is synonymous with perfection. So I know that Beyonce has that song, Flawless. I woke up like this, as to, say that, she woke up with this immaculate face. And most of us know that is not the truth. I know when I wake up in the morning, that is not how I look, how people see me most of the day. If I put on makeup or not put on makeup, or do something to my hair or not. So we all know how we look up first thing in the morning. But that is uniquely who we are. And so we have to stop beating ourselves up. I love the movements recently of women going without makeup. It's phenomenal, because I admit I have been a product junkie. I have bought all kinds of makeup and mascara and lipsticks and creams and lotions and all of these things, trying to make sure that I stay, younger looking longer, when I probably have no use in doing that. Whatever is going to happen that's in our DNA is going to happen. And so you just accept that. But when we try to attain this certain level of perfection, the definition that we feel of, true beauty, it becomes largely unattainable, because we end up chasing something that's not real. I know that there are a lot of celebrities that, go into plastic surgery, and after a while, after so many, they start, and it's addictive, and they start with one, little, I'm just going to go in, I'm just going to tweak my nose. And then it's like, oh, the bag's under my eyes. Oh, and it's like nonstop, and they keep going and going and going and tweaking this and tweaking that and tweaking that, until several surgeries later, they're not even the same person. They are no longer who they were uniquely and divinely created to be. They're not even the same person. And so we want to embrace ourselves, and we want to embrace who we uniquely are. And so I want to give you a little philosophy. It's an Eastern philosophy, a Japanese philosophy. It's called wabi-sabi. It's a Japanese philosophy. And just basically, wabi-sabi is a beauty of things imperfect, impermanent, and incomplete. It's a beauty of things modest and humble. It's a beauty of things unconventional. So the Japanese philosophy of wabi-sabi resolves this paradox by redefining beauty. In wabi-sabi, something is beautiful because of its natural imperfections, not in spite of them. Wabi-sabi embraces imperfection as essential for real beauty. I want you to take a moment and think about that. That this type of thinking says that we are beautiful because we are not a copy. We're beautiful because we are not like everyone else. We are beautiful because we are unique. We are beautiful because one of our eyebrows is higher than the other. Or that our ears are too big, or our lips are too small, or too plump, or too thick, or our nose is too broad. We are beautiful because of these different and unique, quote unquote, imperfections. And so if you embrace the concept of wabi-sabi, what you are doing is allowing yourself and giving yourself freedom from attachment to these unrealistic expectations of beauty. You're giving yourself a subtle profundity. You're embracing asymmetry, that everything doesn't have to be symmetrical. And even though we are in a world of everything is symmetrical, but if you notice, it's actually asymmetrical. If you look from the left side to the right side of something, you draw something exactly down the middle, you'll notice that from the left side to the right side, everything is not exactly the same. Yes, everything has a left and a right side. Just as in our bodies, we have a left and our right side, but our left and our right side are not exactly the same. And so in addition to the freedom from attachment and the asymmetry and the subtle profundity, you'll have the austere sublimity. And put all of these four things together, and what does it give you? It gives you simplicity, tranquility, naturalness. The natural world is far from perfect, and it is full of beauty. Every day, if you look around this world, in nature, it is full of beauty. And as a Western society, our definition of beauty basically means that we are disconnected from the workings of the day-to-day world. We spend so much time trying to make ourselves perfect that we forget to realize that being unique is actually perfect. And so if you think about these things, it's either the world is really not beautiful, or maybe our culture's definition of beauty is flawed. Maybe we don't have it right. And so we have to think about that. And so we have to think about when we're talking to our girls and when we're talking to our young men and we're defining beauty for them. And when we're setting a standard for them of what beauty is. There's so many young girls who are chasing this unrealistic view or perspective of beauty. So much so that to the detriment of their health. And it's not just young girls. Sometimes it's grown women. Sometimes it's grown men. That we're chasing unrealistic expectations when sometimes we are perfect just the way that we are. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so I invite you to embrace this Eastern philosophy of wabi-sabi and thinking of yourself as a unique individual and embracing exactly who you are and exactly how you were made. And like I said, once you do those things, you will just look at life so simply. It's just so simplistic. Just, it can really be that simple. And you can drown out all of that extra noise and junk and be so tranquil and so original and so natural. And so really, once we are empowered in our imperfections, what it does is makes us stand out. Just like this rose in this field of tulips, it's standing out. People will see you. When you embrace exactly who you are, the way you are, people see you. People notice. There's something about him. There's something about her. It radiates. And of course, with self-confidence is a magnet. It draws people into you. It attracts people because positive attracts positive. Positive attracts positive. And so imperfection is what makes us unique. Self-confidence allows us to empower our imperfections with this realization. Self-confidence is what makes us stand out in a crowd. Self-confidence is what attracts others to us. And so if you're thinking about anyone who may be single or, having friends or whatever it may be, and I can tell you that the confident person, if you are single, gets more attention than the non-confident person. So if you're embracing yourself and self-acceptance and you are comfortable with who you are and you know who you are and you're unapologetic for who you are, it's very attractive. Now, I don't mean in a, arrogant type of way, but just comfortable in embracing who you are. And there's power in that. And especially if you are a leader, because everyone loves a confident leader. I don't know anyone who likes to follow a non-confident leader. We like our leaders to be confident in their decisions, confident in their mission, their vision, their direction. And so if you are a leader, make sure that you recognize that you are human, recognize that it's okay to make mistakes, and laugh at yourself. And just say, hey, you know what? I made a mistake. I'm sorry. I thought this was it. I made a mistake. That wasn't it. You can invite people to help you come up with a solution. But you're more open to that when you have a positive attitude about it. And so in closing, some of the best ways to increase confidence include, and I know I said I'll just give you 6 tips, but as I was going through and thinking about it, I was like, oh, that'll be good and this will be good. And so I ended up with about this many, but all of these things work. And so doing good deeds, the more that you do things for others, it puts you in a great mood. And then you start recognizing what you have when others don't have. Doing good work, when you accomplish something at work, and whether it's sometimes, good enough can be good enough. It doesn't have to be immaculate and perfect and divine. Sometimes we stress ourselves out and we miss out on opportunities because we're trying to tweak things so much so and trying to make it so perfect when it's already good enough as it is. And now you're just wasting time and you could be focusing on something else. But doing great work and then celebrating it, being prepared, being principled. Think about what your principles are. Just being principled. Like, what do you stand for? What are things that you don't stand for that you will not tolerate? And stay steadfast to that. Thinking before you speak. And I know for me, that's very difficult because I often want to say the first thing that pops into my head. And so within myself, am growing and taking a moment to pause and think, is that something that's necessary for me to say? Or is it not really that necessary? But just thinking before you speak. Standing up straight. You'd be amazed just by how standing up straight, what that does for your confidence. It actually helps you to breathe better. And so by you being able to breathe better and taking in more oxygen, then your blood flow is better. Your mood is better. And you feel better. I also invite you to, getting competent. Competent is important. Sprucing yourself up, dressing up. In my last webinar, I talked about, embracing a little bit of color, wearing, a nice, colored shirt, or adding color to a room, altering the self-image of yourself, increasing positivity, eliminating negativity as much as possible. Eliminate negativity, from your world and from yourself and from your children and family members. You're at work. Self-knowledge. And what I mean by self-knowledge is just learning about yourself. One way that you can learn about yourself is contacting us and going through the StrengthsFinder assessment, and then really unlocking your true potential of what the StrengthsFinder and what that means and what your top 5 are. And then also acting how you want to feel. That's that saying, fake it till you make it. It actually works. Sometimes we get out of bed and we don't want to get up and we don't want to go and do what we got to do. But we find that once we get there and we just fake it for a little while until we make it, then it actually works out for us. And so these are a few things that we can do to kind of embrace and encourage ourselves and increase our self-confidence. And by increasing our self-confidence, like I said, then we are empowering imperfection, and we are becoming not just awesome, but flawsome. And so I want to say thank you so much for spending a little over 30 minutes with me. I really appreciate you. And if you have any questions, I can answer some of the questions in just a moment. But if you are interested in learning about your top 5, you can contact us to learn your top 5 and find out how unique you are. I invite you to visit our website. As we close, I am going to send you a link. You can go to our website. And or if you have any questions, you don't want to ask them here and you want to ask them privately, you can send us an email at info@striveforleadership.com. And if you would like for me to come out to your organization, I can definitely do this workshop with your participants. And I can bring other materials, a workbook and things that go along with this Dynamically Flawsome workshop. And so I greatly appreciate you taking the time, spend a little time with me. I hope I was able to inspire you and for you to recognize that it's okay, that you are flawsome, and it's awesome to be flawsome. Thank you so, so much. What questions can I answer for you? All right, I see some great. Yes, laughing at yourself. It's hard sometimes. It really is. But if you make that shift and that transition to just laugh, because like I said before, if the first thing that we do when we make a mistake is to get angry, like it shuts our brain down, and it makes it difficult for our brain to think about what the next steps are. And so if we take the moment and just kind of laugh at ourselves, or just be forgiving and accepting of ourselves, that we're human and we make mistakes, then we realize like we're able to make the next steps forward of what we should do or what we need to do. And then in going back and thinking about being a work in progress and think before you speak, my grandmother, she used to say something to me that I didn't understand it at the time, but definitely now as an adult and being a working professional, she would always say, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And when I was younger, I would be like, what are you talking about? It's not what you say, it's how you say it. But now I get it. And you can be constructive and give people constructive criticism, but it's all in your delivery. And I would even go one step further and say that if you don't have a relationship with that person, if you haven't taken the time to cultivate a relationship with that person, you really have to be careful in how you say things and what you say to people, because so many of us think it's okay to just say things, and everyone is not interested in improving. Everyone is not interested in growing. And we make that mistake. I know I'm in the field of education and I teach people and coach people daily. Now in my job, I coach teachers, and I have to recognize that what I think they should do and telling them, oh, you should do this, they may not want to do that. And so I have to take a step back sometimes and recognize that, you know what, you have to motivate people how they like to be motivated. And you have to embrace what is uniquely them and what's unique about them, and use that to inspire them as a strength. And then once we do that, then you can, take the time to say whatever it is that you want to say to them, that's the constructive criticism for them to improve upon. Okay, well, like I said, you are more than welcome to email us. And if you have any questions, if you're interested, and you can go to our website and you can set up an appointment with me to book your strategy session to how you can implement your top 5 in your work life. And I promise you that once you know what your top 5 are, to use it in your professional life, it will spill over into your personal life as well. In our house, we are a strengths family. My husband has taken it. My children have taken it. For children, they do top 10. So they work on their top 3 instead of the top 5. And that is how we parent them. And so we parent them through their top 3 strengths. And so it has really been beneficial when we've made that shift. So I just want to say, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Take care. Continue to strive for leadership. I hope you have a wonderful week. And look out for our next webinar next month. And I hope you have a great day. Bye.